Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Woman in the Yard. So I've seen the trailers for this one a few times, and I decided to give it the good old watch. I'm a little late on the review itself, but hey, we're here now. Of course, I'll be looking at it as objectively as possible, so let's dive right in. So, this movie follows a wife named Ramona, who has the husband had passed away, and we learned this through events of these flashbacks that sort of are sprinkled throughout the movie. And of course this will be a spoiler review, though I think the conclusions that this movie comes to, most of them are pretty predictable, I think. At any rate, so we see the prior husband on video being David, and again this narration played off as video, so pretty and she's replaying this over and over until her son, the oldest, Taylor, comes in. And she makes her way eventually over to Annie, the younger daughter, who seems to make up only this positive story. So, we see that the son is trying to do what he can to prep up their day with the very little that they currently have. He begins to grab a lighter from his dad's things, due to the lack of fire that they were able to get. And we see that the mom sees that the daughter almost cuts herself with a knife accidentally. So, seeing how bad their situation is, she wants them to go out with the power remaining out for the duration of the day. And she has the dog taken outside, or has Taylor take the dog outside, rather. When back inside, he then mentions a lady in the yard. A woman in the yard, as the title suggests. And this is where we begin to see those flashbacks of the father's death being alluded to here, that play around her specifically. So she begins to head out there to see what the woman wants. We see the woman has blood on her hands, and her answers are very vague and weird. But all the birds are dead, or the chickens in the coop are dead. We see that this woman keeps using this shadow power, as it were. And Tyler, through this, keeps worrying about the lady when the mom comes back and suggests to just let her kind of stick around and wait it out. But when they take their eyes off, the woman gets slightly closer to the household itself. And it's the moment Tyler looked away. So we see that the mom heard the dog barking for a long extended period of time because it was left outside, and goes to look for it. While that's happening, Tyler starts to see the behavior of his mom change, and calls her out on it, resorting to the bitch word in this regard. We see that there is illusion at play here, as we see the mom yelling, stabbing, quote-unquote, stabbing the daughter through this mirror reflection. But Tyler heads outside, no longer wanting to deal with this woman outside. So, while he does that, the daughter talks about whether the mom wants to continue living in this house. And I do think that there is a... I think that is a double entendre of a question, as it were. Simplistic, but then you actually see the ending, and we now know what this question actually is referring to, but we'll get there. So we see that the woman actually vanishes from her chair. And through this, the son almost stabs the mom. These, again, very... when tensions are high and the woman is out of the fray, bad things tend to happen. So, after this, Tyler goes into the room while the daughter is, pushed away, and he comes back out with gun in hand. We see this in the trailer, in fact. But she insists on walking closer, using her shadow powers continuously. And Tyler is feared back into the inside. We see another flashback with the dad and the daughter, or the wife, going into this sort of argumentation about whether or not she wants this life or her own life or what have you. So the shadow lady begins to, with being so close now, is able to manipulate things inside the house. The sun begins to close the blinds and to block the light as they work their way toward the attic. And the only light they have illuminating the room is the flashlight. We see that the woman has made her way into the attic and gets closer to Annie, and Annie is indeed taken. We see that the mom walks into what I can best describe as this alternative world where it's sort of like this dream-like state where she sees the husband again, but everything within this realm is backwards. Like the time, his tattoo, everything. She goes back to see things from, and we see now that she becomes, as this part of the movie, she sort of starts to become the woman in the yard. And we see her, quote-unquote, drowning. And we see all the events replay as if Ramona has been this woman all along, one in the same. The woman suggests that she needs to set her kids free, and furthermore, that her asking to have enough strength to do that, she alludes to thinking that means to continue on, but we'll call the first woman in the yard Death, as it were. So Death insists that is not the strength that she is required to have. So indeed, she sends Tyler and Annie off to go to the neighbor finally. Annie giving her penguin up to the mom. And we then see that she was, quote-unquote, given the strength to end her situation, and as it would imply, with her holding the gun and Death gripping its task around her, becoming her once again, with gun in hand. And when we see the kids return, and the reason the implied ending is what it is that we see everything that when they re-enter the house is now backwards, alluding to the idea that she actually did end her life, and that is indeed the end of the movie. So this movie definitely prompts a question that I do think is fairly interesting, because I've heard, myself, when people talk about suicide, I've heard a lot of people say, and, conservatives included, actually, I think they make up the bulk, saying that doing that is the coward's way out. That is the least brave thing you can do. And in looking at terms of this movie, I think this movie is, a reflection of re-altering or putting the question, just actually posing that question, is that even the case? Is it strength, or is it weakness, rather? Because this movie seems to imply that it actually isn't, that it is a type of strength. I mean, this movie does get into the idea that we all do indeed die. That much is made clear. And, choosing your own time to do so, irregardless of the kids, again, the strength to let them go, right, is sort of the idea in this scenario. The strength to know that they have the strength to carry on. I think that there is a strong narrative here that it's actually, again, doubling that entendre when, again, when the daughter asks, do you want to live in this house? Like, she meant that in the symbolic living, too. Like, live, in general. Because everything, around them is quite far, as it were. It's isolating where they are, and it's very much done that way on purpose to elicit this idea, that when you're that isolated, and she becomes the woman, as it were. She is that isolation. It's very much just their own paranoia of being that isolated has gotten them. It may even go that far. But again, to still believe that the children, now leaving, still have that strength. Because, there is, since we know that everything is backwards, we know that they probably just kept running, realistically. And again, realistically, she probably did do it. That's sort of what, again, the ending is implying here. So yeah, I think this movie sheds an interesting light on that idea of, death in this way. And a lot of the questions, as it were, outside of that, in illusions, sort of allude to this. As again, her stabbing her own daughter, and it not really being the case. Like, she is just not that well, she's just not equipped to, and she will never be equipped to be that for them. And again, finding that quote-unquote strength to let go. So again, it all sort of brings it all back to that very base narrative. So yeah, I think this movie is quite clever in its execution, and you know, a lot of the more horror elements, it's very jump scare based, but I do think that, you know, beneath the very base level, you know, results of that are a narrative that is actually surprisingly very strong. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think this movie is pretty damn good. So that's my review of The Woman in the Yard. If you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description when I'll head you over to my petition about small YouTubers to get to my PayPal. We can help support me and my channel directly, or to my Discord server. You can join Collab Shield, all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.